But it's Beeper Show time.
Good morning, and welcome to another edition of Oregon's longest-running radio talk show, The Beeper Show, on KNND. The views and opinions you'll hear expressed during the following presentation do not necessarily reflect those of ownership, employees, or advertisers of this station.
Happy Monday, and welcome to the best conversation in hometown talk radio. It is the Beeper Show for the 15th day of December. Coming up on 7 minutes after the hour of 9 o'clock, I'm Cameron Reiten, your host, and you can join the conversation in one of four ways. You can listen to us on air at AM 1400, FM 99.7. We are streaming via the KNND Facebook page. You can also pick us up on the South Lane TV translator, our home there, channel 47.4. We are the audio that runs alongside the visual program guide. And you can check out what's available on all of those 60 sparkling digital free channels of television that you can view here in the Cottage Grove area. My guest this morning is East Lane County Commissioner Heather Buch. Commissioner, always great to have you.
Good morning and happy holidays, everyone.
Yeah, I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving.
We did. I was able to spend it with family and actually went to two different families' houses. And we had a wonderful time. All the cousins were able to play together.
Oh, yeah.
That's the best part.
Indeed. Nothing quite like cousins.
Yes. And we're lucky to have so many here
Well,
locally.
we're all a little bit older now in my family, but I got to play with my cousins over Thanksgiving as well, and that's always fun.
It's good for you to be able to have that chance to get away.
Yes, indeed. We spent some time doing a little shopping and eating and whatnot in North Dakota, and that was great fun.
Yeah, and you told me lots of snow.
Yeah, we got the first snowstorm of the season while I was back there. Good dusting, about 8 inches over a couple of days, and
that sounds wonderful.
People don't panic there like they do here when we get snow. Life just kind of goes on. They only kind of take things a little easier, but they're accustomed to it.
Yeah, we're not so accustomed to 8 inches, I don't think, here on a regular.
No, if we had 8 inches, we'd be running for the hills, I think.
We would.
At least staying inside our houses, maybe.
Certainly.
But it was a lot of fun, and here we are. We're barreling toward the end of 2025 already. It seems like we were just unwrapping Christmas presents last year. But, here we are again. We're coming to the end of another impactful, eventful year in local government. I actually, I got the time to listen to one of your board meetings last week, and you heard, you're continuing to get reports from various sectors of your public safety system here in Lane County, and sort of talking about, okay, what do they need? How are we going to get there? And you heard from the sheriff, and last week you heard from DA Perosa. And he was kind of laying out his needs and what his aspirations are for an improved district attorney's office.
We did. At the end of the year, we seemed to pack a lot of things in. And last week was certainly pretty jam-packed with lots of stuff, lots of differing subjects as well. But one of them, of course, was the DA being able to present to the board, where their needs are currently and going forward. So if we're looking at a public safety system overall, you can't really impact one spot without a domino effect in other areas. For example, if you increase patrol, then you're likely to have an increased amount of citations, arrests that could go to the DA's office, and that would need an associated increase of staffing and able to respond to those. And then once people are released from the jail system, that would affect a need in the parole and probation department because you have post-supervision requirements. And so it's a continual system. Yeah. So it's important for us to do a deep dive on each sections of that system in order to make sure that if we're going out to the community to talk about what the system needs, that we're being holistic about the view.
Yeah, because if you're going to arrest somebody, then you have to move them through the legal system.
Exactly.
And that's really where the district attorney's office comes in.
Yep.
And that's where, like you said, you can have all the jail cells and you can have all the deputies, but when somebody gets arrested, they're entitled to their day in court. And the victims, they need those services as well to sort of help them heal and get through what they've gone through.
Absolutely.
And so the district attorney's office, that's unfortunately kind of where a lot of things fall apart, and it's not even so much due to our own district attorney as some of the laws and other things they have to deal with at the state level, but all of that requires more resources.
It does, and before it even gets to DA's office, he is subject to the evidence that is collected prior to it reaching them, and you have to make sure that you have time to review all that evidence.
Yep.
There's now a lot of body cam video or other video in the community that has to be reviewed, stored. That has been taking a lot more time to do. As he explained at the meeting, it's excellent to be able to have that available to help with the potential prosecution, but it does take a lot of additional time to review all that footage and an expense to store that footage, and then usually share that with
the defense attorneys.
The defense attorney, exactly. So there's a lot more involved than there was when he said he started out 20 years ago.
Right. And he said, a lot of times what happens is, because he has so few prosecutors and so many charges that are coming in, they'll get prosecutors that'll get a case at first thing in the morning, and then they have to be able to review everything that they have and be able to get things turned in by 11 o'clock, where the arraignment will take place at 1:30 in the afternoon, and they just don't have time to review all the information, and they have to make these sort of snap judgments without always having all of the answers in front of them.
And that's not where they want to be.
Yeah.
Of course, they want to be able to solidly know whether they're prosecuting an individual, because once somebody is prosecuted, as he mentioned, sometimes it looks like they have a black mark on their record, and you don't want to go through that and do that to somebody if you don't have solid evidence.
Yeah. Because then you just have to go and clean it up after the fact, and that just takes more time.
It does, and you want to be able to go solidly to the community and make sure that you have every piece of evidence that you need, and you have conveyed that properly to the court.
Mm-hmm. We've got a phone call, our first of the morning, and by the way, if you want to join the conversation, you are most welcome to do that. 541-942-5548. Good morning. Thank you for calling. You're on the Beeper Show.
Morning, people.
Hello, Larry.
Good morning.
Morning. Yeah, I've got a question for the commissioner.
Okay.
And let me start here. Here a few months ago, a gentleman called in and talked to the commissioner on Beeper about trees hanging over the highway. And I talked to him yesterday, and he said nothing had been done about that. So here's my question. Now, last Monday, a week ago today, I talked to the city manager on Beeper about a tree hanging over the highway on Lorane. Been there a while. And he got on the phone, and he called me later that day, told me that he could get nowhere. He got a hold of everybody he could think of, the county, everybody. He couldn't get anywhere with it. It's still sitting there. I'm wondering if the commissioner could run out there this morning after Beeper and look at what I'm talking about and get it taken out of there.
I would be happy to drive by there after this and check it out if you could tell me the exact spot.
I'll tell you go west from River Road, out Lorraine Road. It's probably a mile and a half, mile and three-quarters. You hit that long straight stretch out there, and on the right-hand side, there's the tower that's got the power lines going across the highway. Right before that tower, there's a grove of trees. And there's one that's been hanging there for quite a while. It's going to come down one of these days. It's not a giant tree, but it's big enough to do some damage or to kill somebody. It's going to come down across the highway.
Yeah,
and
we don't want that.
that's my concern. I don't want to see somebody get hurt.
No, we don't want that. I'll take a drive out there, check it out.
Yeah, I would appreciate it if you could get something done about that and get that tree taken out of there so that somebody doesn't get their car smashed or get killed.
Yeah, especially since we're heading into the winter. You got wind and rain, and
It's
goodness
hot,
only
windy.
knows what could happen. Yeah, you could definitely have some damage with that. Hopefully we can get that resolved. Thanks, Larry. Good morning. Thanks for calling. You're on the air with Commissioner Buck.
Yeah, I was hoping the commissioner could explain or defend the county on this whole Sani-Pac thing and explain how in the world Lane County waste became so expensive that they're trucking it clear to Jackson County.
Well, there's a lot in there. We had a pretty decent presentation about this on our Tuesday meeting also. So our staff had, I think we may have spent about an hour on this particular
least.
subject. Yes. And it's actually going to be part of our discussion on Tuesday as well. So what we have determined so far is that, usually Sani-Pac would have collected a system benefit charge that is remitted to the county.
So, Heather, if I could have you back up here for a couple minutes, because I think it might be helpful to explain kind of the history of the system benefit fee and what it was intended for. Because this long predates any discussion about clean lane. This has been a thing since back in 1999.
That's right. And you had the benefit of watching our meeting on Tuesday, so you got this history, Cameron.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't. So back in the day, we had another incident where we had a hauler shipping garbage out of the county and not transmitting a system benefit charge, which is a charge that is remitted to the county in order to fund all the transit stations that you see. We have 15 transit stations in Lane County for folks to, drop off what they need to drop off while not having to come all the way into the metro center.
And one of the things I found interesting in that presentation, Heather, was Mr. Hurley from your waste management division there. A lot of those transfer stations actually don't make money.
It's true. I mean, they're smaller. They're not huge spots in these locations. So this is a benefit to a lot of our rural communities so that folks don't necessarily leave their trash on the road or on the side of a river because they aren't able to make it all the way into town to drop it off at our transit station in Goshen. So it supplements having those 15 transit stations throughout the county for our rural communities. And that means less waste that we have to go in to a community and haul out at a more expensive cost. So overall, there are some savings, but they don't necessarily all pay for themselves. So in order to fund the whole system together, there is a community-wide systems benefit charge in order to do that. And the transit station at Goshen does pay for itself, but this helps pay for the whole system.
But if I remember the presentation correctly, that's the only one that actually does. Everything else throughout the county loses money.
It's much larger, obviously, and it's in the metro center, so you have a lot of catchment from Eugene and Springfield of folks that go in and drop off their garbage and recycling there. So it makes sense that one is the one that's used the most because the population center is there and that it makes more money than the others. Back to in 1999, we had a situation where we had a hauler doing somewhat similar thing, which is shipping the garbage out of the county without remitting the system benefit charges. And so at that time, the county worked with local municipalities to figure out, okay, what are we going to do? Do we value these transit stations in the county? If so, we need to make sure that we're being able to fund that. So they worked with some municipalities to do intergovernmental agreements in order to ensure that that benefit charge is remitted and that we can keep those rural transit stations open. And that worked for quite some time. And then recently we are having a very similar situation occur with Waste Connections specifically.
Which is Sani-Pac's parent company,
That's right. Yep. This is a national company, very large, and they purchased an outfit in the Medford area and have started hauling their garbage down there. I would be skeptical that that actually is more cost efficient than delivering it here. But if we have in our code that if you're going to take the trash to another community, you still are required to remit the system benefit charges. They've made it clear that they have not been collecting it, even though when we compare their rates between Eugene and Springfield, they're still higher than Eugene's rates. So we're wondering where those system benefit charges went because they haven't been remitted in the last several years. So that's where we are today.
So let me understand this. So the hauler pays the system benefit fee plus probably a tonnage fee or a yardage fee at the dump or when they dump.
Yes. And they have for quite some time.
I mean, I get it, but I don't get it. It's kind of like the county is saying, we're going to coerce you to have to use our services so that we collect the yardage and the tonnage dump fee. And I'm just concerned as, you know, in the big scale of things, what would prevent the county from having their own lumber supply, saying if you're going to be a contractor in Lane County, you got to buy lumber from Lane County, or have their own dairy and say you have to buy milk from us if you're going to sell it in the grocery stores.
Well, it's not required that they have to dump it here. But if they dump it somewhere else, they need to remit the system benefit charge as a way in order to keep this system whole.
Well, unless you funded it some other way. This is just the way that Lane County has chosen to fund it, correct?
Well, yeah, this is the way that it's been funded since way back in the day to ensure that the whole system works and the transit stations remain open. I don't know of another possible way that it could be funded that would be more fair to folks. This seems like if you are collecting the garbage within Lane County, that the benefit of that disposal should go back to Lane County residents, and this is how that happens.
Okay, thank you.
All right, appreciate the call.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you had quite an extensive conversation about that. You know, I think this got maybe kind of been brought into focus by some of the imperatives of Clean Lane, but it was sort of interesting to learn about the history of the system benefit fee. And, you know, a lot of it had to do with, you know, memorandums of understanding between the county and the various cities over the years and the contracts. My understanding is, you know, there's some question about what exactly was in place in terms of agreements between Lane County and Springfield. And so now everybody's kind of, you know, going back through and looking through 25 years of records to try to figure out what's going on or what was supposed to be going on.
Yep.
And Sani-Pac's lawyers have made it pretty clear, hey, we're going to fight this.
That's true, but, you know, they're a national company and we are local, but we have it pretty clear in our code that if you're going to haul it elsewhere, you need to remit that fee and make sure that the benefit goes back to the customers within Lane County.
And Cottage Grove was brought up during the course of that presentation, and apparently our garbage hauler also has not been paying that system benefit fee, but your staff had mentioned that you guys had sent a letter to Cottage Grove and that they were going to, I guess, start paying that fee. To
their benefit, they've been a good local partner and already contacted the county and already willing to find a solution and be able to either make payment plans or some other arrangement to ensure that, that those funds come back to the customers.
So it sounds like they're trying to go retroactive, actually, and collect some of the stuff from years past. I just wonder how this works economically for Cottage Grove Garbage.
Well, I would have to actually defer that to the Cottage Grove Garbage Hauling Company and the arrangement they're making with our staff members.
Okay, so you haven't seen any numbers on
I haven't specifically.
Okay. It's 26 minutes after 9 o'clock. If you've just joined in, we have East Lane County Commissioner Heather Buch as our guest this morning and a phone call coming in. Hello there. Welcome aboard. Thank you for calling the Beeper Show.
Yeah, this is my second call, so I'm done after this. But, Heather, how does it go this long without you guys noticing that you're missing these fees? I mean, Cottage Grove's been in service way before 1999, but you're just now bringing this up to them? I don't get it. Somebody's not paying attention somewhere, either in waste management or in county finance somewhere, if they're allowing this to not happen.
So I'll go back and just remind folks that this is really just a thing that's happened in the last couple of years. It hasn't been going on since 1999. It's just the last couple of years when Sani-Pac purchased an outfit in the Medford area, and then slowly since that time has started diverting the garbage down to that landfill down there. So it hasn't been going on for decades. It's really more recent, and it had been gradual.
And I believe it was only within the last several years that Cottage Grove began hauling their trash to EcoSort.
Yep, and EcoSort is also owned by Waste Connections, so that's the tie.
So something's up with, if it's cheaper for our haulers to truck it clear across the state instead of taking it to a Lane County dump, there's something out of whack somewhere.
And I would actually...
Have you looked at that?
Yes. That has been part of the discussion. I actually really am critical of the fact that it's actually cheaper for them to do it that way. I don't see how economically that benefits them. They're doing it for some other reason.
Why would these mom and pops, like we know Cottage Grove is, make that kind of business decision? I'm almost positive that if they could save a dime by going closer to where the guys pick up the garbage, they would do it.
That's a very good question. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, so you're not even going to dig into the county to see?
We will be digging in, that's for sure. And research has been occurring over the course of this year. The review has been occurring through our county council's department.
Okay, thank you.
All right, appreciate the call. Yeah, I've always found that interesting, and I've had discussions with Mr. Elverson down here at Cottage Grove Garbage in the past, and I've always found it interesting, just like that last caller, that it makes more sense for them to haul their trash so far away as opposed to simply being able to dispose of it at Short Mountain.
Again, as I mentioned, I'm critical of that assumption, and the research on those costs really still need to be borne out.
Okay, I'd like to know a little bit more about that too.
Yeah.
It's the Beeper Show, live and local from behind the red door. East Lane County Commissioner Heather Buch is our Monday morning guest, and you can certainly be a part of the conversation at 541-942-5548. Hello there. Thank you for calling. You are on the air.
Yeah. Good morning, Heather.
Good morning.
And Cameron.
Hi.
I wanted to thank the Sheriff's Department and the state police and the city police for doing all the extra patrols and the stuff that they're doing lately and recently and staying on top of stuff. and the county road crew for the guardrails and stuff. They're really staying on top of that and fixing them. And I was amazed how fast they fixed some damage out this direction. So we really appreciate it. My other question is, I've run into some stores, some local stores, and so have other people, and we're running into where they're selling outdated food, pop, and all sorts of stuff. And who oversees that? Because groceries are expensive enough without having to buy outdated stuff. I mean, they're running it like community sharing. You know, it's absolutely atrocious of what they're doing, and people don't have time to stop and look at the dates when they're going to the convenience stores. But it's happening a lot more.
That's a very good question. Thank you for the kudos, first off. And
they always do a good. They never get enough thanks for all the danger. They get in the corners and start. I mean, they work in really dangerous areas, and it's amazing how fast they do stuff.
They do. Our sheriff's office and public works department have been working quite a bit with you, so I appreciate all that you do in order to watch out for your community, and that kind of working together is exactly what we need.
Well, it's not like it was back in '95. We had trouble back in '95, but it was really bad then. But this is worse now with the homeless and stuff, and the fentanyl and the heroin and stuff. But you know, we're just totally done with this stuff happening and people getting violated and their houses broke into, and just stuff that absolutely doesn't need to happen in the community or any city or county. You know, and we just need to put a stop to it and just put a period at the end of the sentence as this is going to stop.
Yeah, I appreciate that so much. When it comes to the outdated food, you know, we do have a public health department, so I would encourage first talking with, you know, the owner of that store and making sure that they're aware. And then if you think that there's some kind of major problem, call our public health department, and they'll be able to guide you through next steps.
Yeah, from what I've heard is they were looking for warehouses to put a bunch of stuff in, and then they feed these stores all the outdated food. And then I'm running into it more and more again with the pops. You pick up the pops, and they're outdated. I don't really buy any beer, but you know, and it's just bad enough paying the prices that, you know, for being in a convenience store. But people that are working or coming to work, the loggers or construction people or just people coming home and they need something real quick, and you grab it and you don't even think about it, and then you get home and you find out, you know, this is outdated, and they think it's a funny game, but it absolutely is not fun when you're buying outdated stuff. That's not fair to the community.
Absolutely. Well,
thank you.
Feel free to call that public health department number.
Yeah, I completely understand where that gentleman's coming from. In fact, I did a Winco run yesterday, and I got up to the checkout, and we noticed that you know, one of the things that I had bought off the shelf, the package had actually come open. So
oh no,
I get it. It's frustrating sometimes. All right, we've got another call. Good morning. Thanks for calling. You're on the Beeper Show.
Yeah, my question is basically piggybacking on what that previous caller, not this one, but the one before him, on the dump fees. When you have a population density of in your county, how big is the population in the one they're sending it to?
In the Medford area, I don't know their population specifically. I do know, like, for Lane County, we have about 385,000 folks.
So is this larger or smaller, the area?
I would suspect it's smaller, but I don't know the exact population figure.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm heading here, Heather, is when you have a larger population, you have a thing called scale of economies. You should be able to offer it at a cheaper price because you have more people paying into it. You do that with construction. If I one of my businesses, if I'm just a single contractor, I'll pay the flat rate. But if I'm building 100 houses a year, I can sit there and talk to the guy and go, hey, cut me a deal and make it easier. So something is wrong where it's more advantageous for them to ship it south. And it sounds to me like it isn't a funding problem. It sounds like you're top heavy. If that was my company, the first thing I would look at is the departments and where I'm spending too much. And that's what's causing them to go to these other places. The first thing I would do is find out how they're the other county is able to do it so cheaply.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because we did look into that. We want to make sure that our fees are at similar or less market rates than other counties surrounding us and the state of Oregon in general, but more our comparative counties. And so what we do is we have to compare them apples to apples, and each community provides different kinds of services. We are one where we have these 15 rural transit sites. Not often do you see that in other communities. So we have to see what charges are occurring in other communities when comparing to ours specifically. So we broke down that analysis, and that was presented to us, and we are in market rate.
It's kind of interesting that you say that, because when I was doing work for the banks down in Douglas County, we would go to their transfer sites, the ones out in the country, and it was free to dump down there. And so it's, it always circles back to, you're top heavy. You've got something where you're spending too much money, and or you've got too many services you're providing that you can't fund.
Well, I would really encourage you to watch our presentations at the Board of County Commissioners, because we detailed that mathematically, very specifically, and it clearly shows that we are currently in the same market rate as other comparative communities. So, and we don't have the general fund to be able to make garbage free. Maybe way back in the day there was larger discounts or free in some communities, but we all know that service isn't actually free. We really do have to pay people to remit that trash.
Heather, how are they able to, keep their rates lower if we're in comparative market rates? If we're both in comparative market rates, obviously they're doing something different than us.
But you're assuming that it's lower when the analysis is bearing out that we're all within the same community market rate.
Yeah, but why is it beneficial for them to drive down there and dump down there then?
Well, again, that is what Cameron and I were talking about earlier. There's an assumption that it's actually cheaper for them to haul it somewhere else, when actually I don't know that the math bears that out. There's other reasons to do that.
Why would you do that if you're running a company? Why would you sit there and do something that's more expensive? I mean, nobody in their right mind would do that.
That's a very good question, and I'd love to get to the bottom.
There's obviously a financial benefit for them to do it, and it's because it's cost effective. So people don't sit there in a business. I don't sit there and go, okay, I'm going to build this house more expensively for this person so I can make less money. They're going to take it somewhere. They're going to build it cheaper, more efficiently, and use scale of economies and deliver a better product.
Yeah.
So it comes back to, I think you're a little top heavy.
Okay, thanks, James. Appreciate the call.
See, I'm still waiting for the evidence, so I would love to see that presented at the board sometime soon.
All right, 18 minutes in front of the top of the hour here. So yeah, you guys have spent a lot of time on waste. I guess when you look back at 2025, you've spent a lot of time on waste-related issues this year.
We do, and we're not the only ones that know. This is starting to become a statewide discussion. We are seeing this similar conversation bearing out up in the Benton County area with Coffin Butte. And now at the legislative level, we've got committees starting to talk about this issue, because it's not just a Lane County issue. Good morning. Thanks for calling. You are on the Beeper Show with Commissioner Buck.
Yeah, Larry again here.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to find out from the commissioner when she's going to run out there and take a look at that tree so I can be there to make sure she sees what I'm talking about.
Well, I would love to be able to do that actually after the show, and I'll make sure that I have your phone number from Cameron prior to leaving.
I don't have a cell phone, but...
well, I want to make sure...
Let me know when you're going to head out there. I can leave here. I live about 5 miles out of town, out in Lorane here.
I want to make sure if you're going there that I meet you, so I don't want to miss you.
I'll be right by that tower right there.
I will do my best to find that tower.
Okay, so if we wrap up at right about 10 and Heather takes off and heads out your direction.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll be there to meet you.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Okay. All right. So, kind of going back to some of the other things that you guys have been looking at.
Yeah.
We sort of talked about in the beginning of the show where your presentation that you got by DA Perosa. And you don't really have any resolution from that, but it's just kind of giving you guys at the board level kind of an overall picture of where they are and where they want to be. And you got a similar presentation from the sheriff.
That's
recently
right.
As well.
Yep, and we have some, as I mentioned last time, they're still doing some polling right now, and then we will be going out to the community for a large part of 2026, have conversations, make sure people know very similar information that has been presented to us, get feedback, see where people want to go. And, we went through a lot of things last week, and I thought I'd just give you a little breakdown of kind of the breadth of the items that we get at the Board of County Commissioners.
So before you jump into that, a few months ago, right after the Public Safety Task Force had shared with you their report, you shared a lot of that information with us on the program here, Heather, and you talked about, I guess, some of the various funding mechanisms that have been discussed. Has any of that crystallized anymore since that conversation, or is it all still kind of in a...
that won't crystallize until we have those
Okay.
conversations with the community.
Okay. All right, so absolutely. So jump right into some of the other stuff, because you also had a report from the Row River Fire District.
We did,
and their work that they've done, incredible work that they've done to put that district into operation.
They have done such hard work down there in the Row River community. I was absolutely honored to be able to work with these folks and help them with their district formation. They are still seeking funds to build a building to house all their equipment. They're
actually, they'd like to build a couple of different facilities eventually.
They do, one main one and another one, so they can have things staged in different locations so they're closer to the community, because they can be pretty spread out back in that area. So I was able to, at the end of our Wednesday board meeting, make the assignment with unanimous head nods from my colleagues to help seek ways in which we can help get some resources and technical assistance for them. They need, they have a gap of funding. Well, I wouldn't say small. It's actually $230,000, which they presented for large construction projects. That amount of money is really what they need in pre-development fees, so that they can utilize all this fundraising and matching money that they've been able to garner from other foundations and private entities. So we want to be able to get them to the place where they can unlock those resources that would actually be able to help build the buildings themselves. So that's the direction I was able to request of the board. And so we are going to get a report back from our staff on ways in which to best support them to make that happen.
Well, one of the things that was just briefly brought up by those folks when they were giving you your report was, that they obviously have to deal with a lot of permitting and land use stuff.
Yep, we will.
Is there any way that we can help them make that not quite as arduous of a process?
That is exactly where I was headed. Yes, that's where the technical support will hopefully fall in. They also need some support for helping writing grants. We have a large grant department, so our policy team should be able to help them with that. But there are a variety of ways I think the county can assist them to get them to that point where they can start building.
Okay. Wonderful.
Yeah. So that was another one. We, on a regular basis, have a lot of items on our consent calendar. For example, we have foreclosed property. where somebody wants to purchase that property. We did a foreclosure. We do those pretty regularly throughout the year. We appointed 3 members to the Public Health Advisory Committee. We had a 75-minute presentation on our emergency shelter provider model. So we had 4 different agencies there telling us about their wonderful work that they're doing. We also had a 30-minute presentation on the expansion of the Eugene Airport, and that is actually something that's really important to me. The Eugene Airport itself is really at capacity. So they're looking to add a terminal, which could really boost the amount of folks coming and going and potential business opportunities for our region.
I seem to remember that they just did a pretty big remodel a few years ago.
They did a remodel, and then they're still at capacity. They're also going to do a little bit of an expansion space, about 5,000 square feet. So people, when you go upstairs at the Eugene Airport, aren't so crowded. And some additional restrooms and an emergency route. So that'll help quite a bit too. But even with that, there's no more room for more airlines to come in.
I was going to say, so if they added another terminal, are there other airlines looking to provide service?
Yeah, they presented some options of some more direct routes that we could get throughout the country. And that was really exciting.
Well, I know it was kind of interesting. My parents, over Thanksgiving, they flew to Las Vegas, but they actually ended up flying out of Portland.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because we could accommodate that with an additional terminal and take off all these additional routes up and down the freeway. They had some statistics they presented where if we had opened a second terminal, or when we opened a second terminal at some point, we could take off 450 trips per day off the highway and add them to our airport capacity. And that's pretty exciting because we also could in turn be able to attract businesses that otherwise wouldn't be here if there were not these direct routes.
And I'm sure airlines probably have some idea, like what cities would be most advantageous to offer direct flights to. I'm just kind of curious about what some of those might be.
I'm sure they do. And their presentation, if you go to the Eugene Airport site, they have a survey. They're very interested in getting feedback from all around the community because the catchment area to go to the Eugene Airport is quite large outside of just Lane County.
Good morning. Thanks for calling. You're on the air with Commissioner Buck.
Yeah, Heather, does that airport, when they do those expansions, is that like a loss leader, or does it actually does it pay for itself and, give us more income, or is it something we put up there like a football stadium and hope people come and, we get business because people come here?
No, they had a great presentation about how much economic business it actually generates in our community. If you go to the Board of Commissioners website and look at our agenda for last week, you will see an attachment of their presentation that will show how much money brings into the community with an additional terminal. It was quite impressive.
Do the carriers pay a fee to land it? So if you get more, what I'm getting at is, are we going out of pocket and not getting any payback for the expansion? And hoping
that's a really good question, James. And I wish I had my airline ticket in front of me and I could list off all of the different fees that you pay when you buy an airline ticket. And I think part of that goes to fund airport operations as well.
Yeah, I was just trying to get at if we're just funding it and then the air carriers get a free ride and get to land in there, and we just keep funding it and making it profitable for them to come here. But it'd be nice if the build out was paid for by the people that are going to be using it. It's a business, and that way they can sit there and run the numbers and go, yeah, it pencils. The other thing I was going to say is make sure you get out to that tree, because Larry is like a dog on a bone. He will not let go.
All right. Thanks, James. We got another call, buddy. Good morning. Thank you for calling. You're on the Beeper Show with Commissioner Buck.
Good morning, Cameron.
Hello,
I got
sir.
one question for the commissioner. The gas tax referendum. Did you sign that?
Gas tax referendum.
The state transportation bill.
Oh, that gas tax referendum. Okay, we're talking about the state measure. I have not been out to the area where they're collecting signatures to get the information that they're talking about yet.
Then you're not very well informed, because they already turned in a couple 100,000.
Ah, very good. Well, we'll see. We'll see what the voters think.
Okay.
They're overwhelmingly saying no, they don't want it.
Well, it will be on the ballot, so we don't know that quite yet.
Yeah, I mean, now I guess there's. I read a story over the weekend where the supposition has always been that it was going to be on the November ballot next year, but now I'm hearing that may not be the case, or there may be a special election.
Oh.
It's just, like I say, something I read over the weekend. So more to come on that. We have just a few more minutes left here. The fairgrounds, the event center, that's also been another big topic of discussion this year. Anything new on that?
Well, they're still doing the long-term planning out there. And Commissioner Trieger, that's in her district, so she's been largely in those particular conversations.
Okay.
The last presentation we had at the Board of County Commissioners regarding that long-term planning, they presented a few different options of what it could potentially look like. No funding has been identified at this point. These are just ideas. So they are going out to the community and getting feedback, and Commissioner Trieger has been integral in being at those meetings and getting feedback from the community. I'm sure that they will come back to the Board of County Commissioners in the new year and let us know what people have been saying.
Because I believe they're also working on their master plan.
That's
not?
the long term,
yeah,
the visioning that I was speaking of.
Right, and obviously what they're going to do is going to be heavily dependent on how many dollars they can they can get together.
Well, yeah, you can have the greatest laid plans, but if you don't have the resources, it's not going to be built out. The Lane Event Center, unfortunately, has often been the place where it gets the last amount of dollars invested because we're already so short of funding it of other vital resources. So, but it is such a jewel of a location, and it has a lot of potential. I'm very much on the record for advancing a larger convention space there, because a lot of people that book conventions skip the Lane County area and book in other larger convention spaces, and we miss out on that economic return to our communities.
Well, having the event spaces is certainly part of it, but I think the other part of the conversation too is that we don't have enough spaces to lodge people when they get here.
That's part of the conversation for sure, because often those convention spaces come with a corresponding hotel so that people are staying in the same building where they're visiting and congregating. So that is an option that is being presented to the community. We'll see what they say.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when we had the Olympic trials a couple of years ago. There was, of course, unfortunately, a lot of that hotel space was lost during the pandemic and just never recovered. But I know when we had the Olympic trials, I mean, there were people. I'll just say this: it was a very good time to be operating an Airbnb.
Yeah, that was a time when everything seemed to be booked. Those are not regular opportunities. Yeah. We still need a lot of bookings in the winter months in order to keep our hotels full.
Well, and that kind of goes back to the conversation about creating some sort of a bigger indoor arena at the Lane Event Center to have another
Yeah, that's another opportunity potentially as well, and part of the options that are being presented to the community.
Yeah.
There's so much potential there. We could go on for days about what people think could go there, but what I really want to focus on is the economic development potential of that site, because income that is generated from there reverberates throughout the entire Lane County region. And we need to take the opportunity to get that from a space that is underutilized at times.
Okay. Any other big things that you've been looking at here as we prepare to close out the year?
Well, we're still working very diligently on our mental health stabilization center in the Springfield area. Mm-hmm. That will continue going forward. And then we will start gearing up for the legislative session, and that will consume a lot of time. Then we'll run right into budget season in the spring. We will have to come to terms with the changes in the economic forecast of the state of Oregon, which reverberates down to the counties and cities, and see where we land. We're going to be having a pre-budget meeting at our next Tuesday Board of Commissioners meeting to lead up to the spring season. So if you're interested in that, feel free to watch our meetings online or come if you'd like to see them in person. Mm-hmm. Harris Hall at Tuesday. And
so with the next with the new year, there will be coming some leadership changes at the Board of Commissioners.
Yes,
your
every
chairs
year.
rotate every year.
Yep, they rotate every year. We have lots of committee assignments to do. Often we don't change those quite so much. But there's some routine business that we do at the beginning of every year.
Mm-hmm. We'll take this one last quick call, then we'll let you get out of here so you can go meet Larry. Good morning. Thanks for calling. You're on the air with Commissioner Buck.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a couple of comments. The guy that said that Commissioner Buck was uninformed, that didn't know he was going to a vote. Well, that's uninformed. And then there was a comment about space so that they can make money. It's like they all vote. They all vote to give corporations big money on the national level, but then it's penny pinching when it comes to the state level. So, I mean, let's just get our priorities in order and really think about what we're voting for. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. Okay. Well, Commissioner Buck, hope you have a wonderful remainder of your holiday season, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the brand new year.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Glad to have you.